Thank you for your interest in Money's Tachyon-in-a-box Proof of Concept Accelerator. In this video we will first launch the Tachyon-in-a-box Proof of Concept Accelerator from the Azure Marketplace. We'll wait for 30 minutes for it to install. We will then reset the Tachyon account passwords so that we can log into the Explorer user interface. To do that we'll need to install the root certificate. We will then install a client and verify that that client is working. So, firstly, launching from the Azure Marketplace. In the Azure Marketplace, you can search for Tachyon and you'll find the listing. To install it, just click on Get It Now and then click on Continue. This will move you to the Azure portal and create a new virtual machine. So click on Create, and you will then need to enter the basic details for that machine. So we need a machine name. We're going to call this one Tachyon Server. We will need a username for the administrator account. You cannot use administrator or admin, so we're using Fredblogs, and we're giving it a password that's acceptable to Azure. Verifying that password, and then we have to create a new resource group and make sure the correct location is selected. And click on OK, and then we need to change the settings. So we're having a new virtual network using the default subnet with standard machine size and DNS name, and then we'll select the Tachyon license file that you've been given by our sales team, and then click on OK. That will then verify that all the parameters are set correctly. Once that validation is complete, click on OK, and then in the final section click on Create, and that will go away and start to create that virtual machine within your own Azure environment. We will now need to wait for that to complete. So, 30 minutes later, once that's complete, you'll see you've got a new resource with the Tachyon server listed at the top. We're now to log into that server and reset the account passwords for the two accounts that get automatically created to allow us to do administration of the Tachyon product. So connect to the server and then click Connect and open the RDP file that it downloads. Click on Connect, and then you'll need to log in using the username and password that you entered during the creation of the server. So in this case Fredblogs, and the password that we entered there. Click on OK, and then click to accept the certificate, and the remote control session will start up and log you in to the server. The server is a domain controller and has the domain controller tools installed by default. So once the startup is finished, and it's the first time that we've logged onto it, so it takes a little while. Close down Server Manager because we don't need it, and then go to the Windows Administration Tools and start Active Directory Users and Computers. Go into the Tachyon.com domain. Under the Users object at the bottom there's two accounts, Tachyon Admin and Tachyon Approver. Both of these will need the password reset. So right click and choose Reset Password, type in the new password. The accounts get created with random passwords, so we just need to make it something that you know. Also uncheck the user must change password at first log on, because these accounts aren't going to be used to log on interactively, and so therefore we wouldn't be able to change the password anyway. So once you've changed the password for both of those accounts, you can log out of that machine. We now need to install the root certificate of the PKI that's been created on that server onto our local workstation. So this is the external DNS name of the server. We'll copy that, and then if you type HTTP, go to that URL and then put /cert-enroll on the end. That will bring up a listing of files. One of them will be a long file name with .crt on the end, and that is the root certificate for the new certificate authority that we've created on there. So we open that up, download it and open it up, and then we'll install that into our local certificate authority, trusted root certificate authorities folder for the local machine. So select the trusted root certification authorities and click OK, and then next and finish, and that installs that certificate. So we'll now be able to connect into that that server using the Explorer user interface without having to worry about having an invalid certificate chain, because we now trust it. So we change to HTTPS and put Explorer on the end. It now asks us for a username and password. Here's where we use the Tachyon-admin account in the Tachyon domain, Tachyon/Tachyon-admin, and the password we reset that to log into the Tachyon user interface. And starts up, and there you go, we're into Tachyon. Next, we need to install a client, and here I've created a freshly installed Windows 10 machine. We'll need that URL again, so I'll copy that across. On the Windows 10 client, this is just a plain vanilla Windows 10 client that's not connected to any domain or any other thing. It's just a standalone workgroup machine. We'll connect into that same cert-enroll URL over HTTP and download Tachyon client install.exe. And this is a client pack that contains the agent, along with some hard-coded information from that server that you just created, so that it will automatically add that client into that server. You won't be able to run it directly from the download, so we'll have to open the folder, right-click on the downloaded exe, change the properties, and tick on unblock to allow us to run an exe that we downloaded from the internet. So then right-click on it and run it as an administrator. Say yes to run it, and then that will start up a quick command prompt and run the installation in the background. Obviously you won't have to do this manually on all your machines. You can run that through a deployment mechanism of some description. If we look at the services, you'll now see that there's a 1E Tachyon agent installed on this machine, and that will have been configured to talk to the server that we just downloaded it from. It also installs certificates, client certificates onto this machine. So if we run MMC and then load up the certificate snap-in, point it at the local machine, local computer account, and you'll now see in the personal certificates folder there's a certificate issued by the Tachyon CA for this machine, and in the trusted root certificate authorities there is the Tachyon CA as a trusted root certificate authority. That means that the client can present its certificate to the server will trust it, and it trusts the server. And you'll now see that indeed in the Tachyon homepage we have one device connected. If we look under devices in the table, you can see that that's the same desktop device, Windows 10 Enterprise Evaluation. And we're ready to prove that the Tachyon installation is working by running some verification tests. So in the I want to know field, if we just start to type verify, we'll see a list of questions, one of which is Tachyon Platform Verification Stage 1. Click on Ask This Question, and that will go out and find the software installed on all of the clients. So in this case it's all the software from that one client. We'll then filter those results so that we can limit it to the device name, and then we'll run a follow-up action. And once again, we'll just start to type in verify, and this does stage 2. Tachyon platform verification stage 2. Click on perform this action. We'll need to specify our password again. This will prove out the approval mechanism. So in order to approve that request, we need to log in using a different account, the approver account that we changed the password of earlier. In order to do that, we need to run an in-private session. So we'll connect back to the Explorer interface, log in as Tachyon Approver with the relevant password, and that will take us to the home page. And in the top right hand corner you can see there's a notification. Click on that and you can see it's saying it's a pending request for approval. So we can see what's being requested, the request itself, the description, and we can see on this one it will actually send back slow responses. Response speed will be affected by the agent setting default stagger range seconds. Because this is sending back potentially large amounts of information, if you were to run it against a large number of machines, it would take, could potentially bring down the network, so we stagger the results. So we put in an approval comment, click on approve, and you flick back to the other session. We can already see that it started to run. We're waiting for the results to come in. A minute later, that result comes in. As you can see, the stagger interval there is 300 seconds, so it could have taken up to 5 minutes for that particular result. And there we've got it. We have a fully functioning Tachyon-in-a-box.